We often imagine soldiers heading into the maelstrom, their faces set with determination, their hearts pounding with adrenaline. The image is vivid, almost cinematic, a line of troops advancing into the unknown, their silhouettes stark against a smoky horizon. And at the forefront of this image we see their weapons, rifles, grenades and other instruments of destruction. These tools of war dominate our perception of the battlefield, symbols of both power and peril. The deafening roar of artillery echoes through the air, shaking the ground beneath their feet. It's a sound that speaks of chaos, of destruction, and of the sheer scale of modern warfare. Then there's the staccato bursts of machine gun fire, a relentless rhythm that underscores the intensity of combat. These are the sounds we instinctively associate with the battlefield, loud, unyielding and terrifying. But beyond the weapons, beyond the noise and fury, lies another story. What about the other tools, the ones that don't make headlines but are just as critical to a soldier's survival and success? These are the tools that often mean the difference between a fighting chance and utter despair. They are the unsung heroes of the battlefield, quietly enabling soldiers to endure the unendurable. The gear that allows soldiers to adapt, to innovate, and to persevere in the face of unimaginable challenges. Picture a soldier in the field, far from the comforts of home. A simple mess kit becomes a lifeline, a way to prepare a hot meal that provides not just nourishment, but a moment of normalcy amidst the chaos. Or consider the tools used to repair equipment in the field. A wrench, a screwdriver, or even a makeshift solution crafted from whatever is at hand. These tools may not be glamorous, but they are indispensable. Throughout history, these often overlooked items have determined the fate of battles and the lives of those who fought them. They are a testament to human ingenuity and resilience. Over the next few minutes, we'll journey through the fascinating evolution of the soldier's toolkit, exploring how these tools have changed over time and the stories they tell about the soldiers who used them. From the mud-caked trenches of World War II, where survival often depended on the simplest of tools, to the cutting-edge technology of modern warfare, where innovation continues to push the boundaries of what's possible. We'll uncover the ingenuity behind these tools, the challenges they overcame, and the ways they've shaped the course of history. From the battlefield to the workshop, these tools reveal a side of war that is often hidden from view, a side where creativity and necessity collide. From the simplest mess kit, a symbol of sustenance and survival, to the complexities of modern night vision, which turns darkness into daylight and gives soldiers a critical edge in combat, get ready to explore the often overlooked world of the soldier's toolkit. A world where every item has a purpose and every purpose tells a story. This is a story of ingenuity meeting necessity in the crucible of combat, a story that goes far beyond the gun. The old adage, "An army marches on its stomach," might seem cliché, but it holds a profound truth, especially in the crucible of World War II. The ability to feed an army, to keep soldiers nourished and energized, was as critical as the weapons they carried or the strategies they employed. Food was not just sustenance, it was a weapon in its own right, a tool of survival and morale. Without it, even the most disciplined and well-trained soldiers would falter. Imagine yourself as a young soldier, slogging through the mud and blood of Europe or the sweltering jungles of the Pacific. The days are long, the nights are restless, and the environment is unforgiving. Every step forward feels like a battle in itself, as you navigate through treacherous terrain, often under the constant threat of enemy fire. The physical and mental toll is immense, and every ounce of energy you have is precious. The constant tension, the fear, the bone-chilling cold or stifling humidity, all of it wears you down. The harsh conditions of war test the limits of human endurance. Whether you're shivering in the snow-covered forests of Europe or drenched in sweat in the oppressive heat of the Pacific, the environment becomes an adversary of its own. And yet, amidst all this, the need for sustenance remains a constant, unyielding demand. Now imagine facing those conditions on an empty stomach. Hunger gnaws at you, sapping your strength and clouding your mind. The lack of food isn't just a physical challenge, it becomes a psychological burden, a reminder of your vulnerability. In such moments, even the simplest meal can feel like a lifeline, a small victory against the overwhelming odds. It's not just about hunger pangs. It's about the energy to keep going, to remain alert, to fight another day. Food fuels the body, but it also fuels the spirit. A warm meal, no matter how basic, can restore a sense of normalcy, a fleeting moment of comfort in an otherwise chaotic world. It reminds soldiers of home, of what they're fighting for, and gives them the strength to carry on. A soldier's morale, his very will to fight, is inextricably linked to the food he consumes. Sharing a meal with comrades, even in the direst of circumstances, fosters camaraderie and solidarity. It becomes a ritual, a moment to pause, to connect, and to find strength in each other. The act of eating together is as much about survival as it is about maintaining the human spirit in the face of adversity. This is where the humble mess kit and the ingenious field stove come into play, often overlooked but absolutely indispensable. These tools were designed with practicality and efficiency in mind, enabling soldiers to prepare and consume meals in the most challenging conditions. They were compact, durable and versatile, capable of withstanding the rigours of war while providing a semblance of normalcy. These were not mere tools of sustenance, they were lifelines, providing not just calories but a sense of normalcy, a touch of home in the heart of chaos. The mess kit, with its simple yet effective design, allowed soldiers to carry their meals with them, while the field stove made it possible to cook even in the most inhospitable environments. Throughout history, darkness has been both a friend and an enemy to the soldier. It can provide cover, a cloak of invisibility under which to maneuver and strike, but it can also conceal dangers, turning the battlefield into a labyrinth of unseen threats. For centuries, armies were limited by the constraints of natural light. Battles were fought during the day, with the setting sun signalling a cessation of hostilities. But the development of night vision technology changed all that, fundamentally altering the nature of warfare. Imagine the advantage of being able to see your enemy while they stumble blindly in the dark, their movements shrouded from their own eyes. This wasn't just about gaining an edge. It was about rewriting the rules of engagement, turning a time of vulnerability into a period of tactical dominance. Join me as we explore the remarkable evolution of night vision, from its clunky beginnings to the sophisticated systems employed by modern militaries around the world. Imagine, if you will, the chaos of a battlefield, shrouded in the fog of war. The air is thick with smoke and mist, obscuring vision and muffling sound. Soldiers stumble through the haze, their shouts barely audible over the cacophony of battle. The ground beneath their feet is a treacherous mix of mud and blood, every step a struggle. This is not just a scene of physical combat, but a theatre of confusion, where clarity is as rare as a moment of silence. Not the metaphorical fog, mind you, though that too played its part, clouding judgment and strategy, but a literal obscuring mist clinging to the mud and the blood. It was a veil that turned even the most well-laid plans into a gamble, where every decision carried the weight of uncertainty. Now picture yourself as a commander in this maelstrom, desperate to relay orders, to shift units, to exploit an enemy weakness before it vanishes like a phantom. Your every move depends on communication, on the ability to convey your intent across a battlefield that seems designed to thwart it. The stakes are monumental, the pressure immense. A single misstep, a single delay could spell disaster. But how? How do you communicate across a landscape where every runner dispatched is a life risked, every shout swallowed by the din of clashing steel and thunderous explosions? The battlefield is a symphony of chaos, where the instruments of war drown out the human voice. In such an environment, the act of communication becomes an act of courage, a test of ingenuity and resolve. This, my friends, is the world before the radio. A world where communication moved at the pace of a weary horse or the fluttering wings of a bird. It was a world where messages were entrusted to fragile, living couriers, each journey fraught with peril. A horse could stumble, a bird could be intercepted, and with them, the hopes of an army could falter. For millennia, armies relied on a motley crew of messengers and primitive signalling systems. These were the lifelines of command, the threads that held the fabric of an army together. Yet they were threads that could snap under the strain of war, leaving chaos in their wake. Runners, often young men barely old enough to shave, would sprint across shell-pocked landscapes, messages clutched in their trembling hands. Each step was a gamble, each breath a prayer. They were the unsung heroes of war, their bravery often overshadowed by the generals they served. Signal fires visible for miles at night would flicker cryptic messages, their meaning open to interpretation and prone to enemy disruption. A single gust of wind, a sudden downpour, and the message could be lost, its meaning extinguished like the flame itself. Flags, semaphore, heliographs using polished metal to reflect sunlight, all were pressed into service, each with their own limitations, each a fragile thread in the vast tapestry of war. These methods required skill, precision, and often a fair bit of luck. A misread signal, a poorly timed reflection, and the consequences could be dire. These methods, while seemingly archaic to our modern sensibilities, were the lifeblood of ancient and early modern warfare. They were the tools of survival, the means by which armies coordinated their movements and executed their strategies. Lives hung in the balance, battles won and lost, empires made and unmade, all based on the success or failure of these rudimentary communication methods. The weight of history rested on the shoulders of those who carried these messages, their courage shaping the course of events. The lack of reliable, instantaneous communication injected a level of uncertainty and chaos into warfare that we can scarcely comprehend today. It was a world where decisions were made in the dark, where commanders gambled with the lives of their men, often with incomplete or outdated information. It's a stark reminder, wouldn't you say, of just how transformative the technology of communication would become? From the flicker of a signal fire to the crackle of a radio, the evolution of communication has reshaped the very nature of warfare, turning the fog of war into a battlefield illuminated by information. We've talked about feeding an army, about seeing in the dark, about communicating across miles of chaos. But what about the individual soldier? What about those moments when it's just them against the elements, against the odds? That's where the survival kit comes in. Not some romantic Boy Scout accoutrement, but a honed edge of technology and necessity, a distillation of survival itself into a few crucial pounds. We're talking about the difference between a fighting chance and a slow, agonizing slide into oblivion. This isn't a game. This is life and death, boiled down to its purest form. And what goes into this modern-day talisman against fate? Well, that's what we're here to dissect, to lay bare the philosophy of survival, one vital component at a time. For millennia, the clang of metal on metal has echoed across battlefields. From the bronze helmets of Roman legionaries to the steel helms of medieval knights, protection has been paramount. But the 20th century ushered in a new era of warfare, and with it, a revolution in personal protective gear. We're not just talking about incremental improvements here. We're talking about a quantum leap in materials science, in understanding the physics of impact and blast, in a desperate race to keep pace with the increasingly lethal nature of combat. We went from simple steel helmets designed to deflect shrapnel to helmets crafted from advanced composites, capable of stopping high-velocity rounds that would have punched through their predecessors like paper. This isn't just about thicker armour, it's about smarter armour, about understanding the mechanics of impact, about deflecting force and dissipating energy, about giving soldiers that extra fraction of a second that could mean the difference between life and death. The soldier's toolkit has come a long way, evolving with technology and the demands of the battlefield. From the humble mess kit to the futuristic exoskeleton, each piece of equipment tells a story of innovation, of resilience, and of the enduring human desire for survival. Which of these tools surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more history and innovation.